I'm going to cut back these old hydrangea stems. And yes, this is a task for early spring, but I'm behind in my garden and that's okay. But in addition to doing that, I'm also going to take some hydrangea cuttings and I'll show you how I do that. But before I take my cuttings, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I am going to cut all of this growth back. These old stems here, I'm going to cut them in. And take them back. We didn't get any blooms because we had a late frost freeze kind of situation this year. When I have seasons like that in my garden, I don't get upset. Yes, is it disappointing that I'm not having these beautiful luxurious blooms? Absolutely. But I know that I'm going to win in the end because that's really when I go in and I take cuttings and I cut and I cut and I cut. And I propagate. I get as many as I need because this again is how I save money. This again is how I have plants in and out of rotation. Now, do I buy hydrangeas in the big containers? Absolutely. You also have to worry about, you know, patents and things like that. So don't be taking these hydrangea cuttings and propagating them and then trying to sell them. Don't do that one. Don't do that. If anything, give away, honey. I love to give a good plant over the fence, honey. Like my grandmama and them used to do, mama and aunties and all that used to do back in the day, honey. You get that plant, you share over the fence. They want some of your flour, they need some flour, some eggs. Okay, let me get a cutting off that plant, okay? So that's how we're gonna do that. So you just go in just like this and you follow it all the way down. Where we see we have, trying to get it to where you guys can see. So we have these leaves on the inside. Can you guys see that? That should be better. So we got 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna cut right below a set of leaf nodes here. So I'm gonna make my cut right there. Now you could take it, really take it to right there. Simple and plain. So you see that? You see the inside. You see our hydrangea leaves here, right? Then you see right here where we have leaves coming up. So you want to take those. And the only thing you're going to do, just go ahead and just cut them now. Actually, we're going to cut these off. Including that right there. We're going to cut those off. For this leaf right here on the inside, these pair of leaves in here, I'm just going to take these and just take this off. And so now this is what you have. This is our hydrangea cutting. We take this and I'm just going to put this down in some water, the leaves and everything right down into some water, okay? Just like that. To cut your end at a 45-degree angle. Take a few more and just like that. And I'm preparing everything as I go. I remember when I was younger, I couldn't keep up with my grandma. She'd say, "Child, if you can't cut faster than that, then your cuttings ain't gonna make it." Okay, perfect. Around because I want to make sure I'm not cutting from the same place. And I want to look for healthy cuttings from the beginning. Now, we'll go ahead and get these hydrangea cuttings in the medium for success. So come on, you guys, let's go in. In order to achieve good success, we're going to use some perlite. We're also going to use some distilled water. We're using distilled water because sometimes when you use tap water, it has a lot of chlorine in it, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that we have excellent success with our cuttings. So let's go ahead. Let's open up our perlite, and this is very cheap, very inexpensive. This cost me about $5, so depending on where you live at, you can get it for about $5 to $6. The brand doesn't matter. Distilled water, you can find this at the grocery store, very inexpensive. Now with inflation, ain't no telling how much it's gonna cost us, but get you some distilled water, and if you're gonna start getting into propagating plants, having distilled water on hand is something that is gonna come in handy in a pinch. It has saved me many of days by using distilled water, because with the chlorine, sometimes it inhibits the roots from coming up. When I work with my cuttings, I like to bring them into a cool environment. So we're going to complete this on the inside, and then we're also going to work with the other hydrangea cuttings on the inside as well. So what we're going to do is, first I like to see if when I take my cuttings, can I put the lid on here without them? No. Okay, so we may have to cut a little bit of this off, and that's fine. We are going to take and put the insert on the inside of here, and that's so when we water it, we can change out our water, because it might take our hydrangeas about anywhere from, I've seen roots as early as 2 weeks, but we want to go from 2 to 6 weeks. By 6 weeks, you should have you some roots, honey. So like this hydrangea cutting right here, this should be perfect to sit on the inside of here. Let's test it. And then we'll put our lid on here. So it's a little bit tall, so we can fix that. We can cut these off. You don't necessarily have to put it in there straight, and then when you need to correct your hydrangea cutting. So let's see what happens when we put it in there. So it's still a little bit. So we're just going to come in and just take the tops of these just off real quick. Okay, so we'll cut the tops of them off, and that should fix our problem here. Okay, so we should be good. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one, I am going to come in and break that off just like that. Okay, so now have 6 right here holes with my perlite, and then I'm just going to take and pour a little bit of distilled water in each one. Now, I've taken complete 72 count, 36 count trays full of cuttings. Am I telling on myself here? Especially when I was with my grandmother when I was younger, we've taken complete trays full of cuttings. We're just going to take the dibbler here, put that down on the inside, and you might have to do 2 of them just like that. Now you can do the same exact thing with vermiculite, you guys. Vermiculite works. You can use sand, you can use soil. And I'll show you the mixture that I use when I do soil. I knew this one right here was going to be a headache. So we are going to shorten this one and cut it off. And this one. So if you notice that your lid won't go down, you just cut it off, and you're going to need to be able to cut it. Now this one might be pushing it because now we only have 2 full leaves, but we should be fine. Okay, so I am going to pour a little water in here. That's it, you don't need much water. Okay, let's get the lid on there. Okay, let's go ahead and get this in its place so I can show you guys my other cuttings that I already have prepared for. Show you where I keep these. I'm going to keep my hydrangea cuttings out here in the garden, in the shade. They'll get a little bit of light, but not too much. If I know that we're going to have a day where the heat is going to be blustering, I will give them refuge and bring them like inside of my sunroom and set them on the ledge so they can get enough sunlight. Let's go look at these other hydrangeas. Now, here's some hardwood cuttings, right? Now, with my hardwood cuttings, I like to let those sit in water for a little bit. And the reason why I do that is because hardwood cuttings can be harder to take. So I like to have my hardwood cuttings to where the roots are just starting to bump up in there. So what you can do with your hardwood cuttings, you can put it in a clear glass. But what I found is that when you use an opaque vase, when you use something that kind of blocks those lights, mimics the natural environment. So like if your stem would be up underneath the ground. So for example here, look at this beautiful stem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you now how we break down this stem to get it ready for planting. Can you see the roots starting to form here? Now the bottom of this hydrangea stem, right? It has showed us what all is going to take. So what we're going to do is we are going to peel off all of the leaves that are dying. It's going to come in
And we're just going to take off these dead leaves. We are going to leave these in place. Now you can cut these in half.
Have the first stem prepped. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to stick this inside of some water. We're going to move fast, and actually we're going to add a little bit more water. So just in case our level here doesn't reach up to where we have those fresh roots, because we want to try to baby those. So I am one that will take cuttings like this, and I will try to push them along. Since this one is kind of on the struggle bus, actually it has some roots, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this. So when I see that it's starting to droop a little bit, I will go ahead and just cut it in half. And what we're going to do for right now, I'm going to stick this all the way down in this water just like this, because I want to rehydrate those leaves. So same thing for this one right here. I'm going to go ahead and just cut those off. And this one has bumped up as well, and I am going to cut half of this off. Okay. And the reason why I'm leaving the stems longer versus how I just did the Hydrangea microphylla is because I want these to grow into standards. I don't want to wait a long time for me to have a nice big plant. You guys, this is super easy. I used to do this all the time as a little girl. Super easy. So let's get our soil together. All right, so we have our soil together, and I'm just using an old little Tupperware bowl that I got from the Dollar Tree. I get a lot of supplies out the Dollar Tree, and it saves me money. So when I want to buy those big, beautiful containers, or if I want to just splurge out on plants, I haven't spent a lot of my budget on getting things like bowls and such that I can use in my different projects like this. I have some small containers here, and so I'm using a smaller container so my roots are going to hit the side of the pot quicker, and I'm going to have better results this way. I also just have a little tray so I can put my cuttings inside of this and carry this tray versus having to carry each individual cup. Put a little bit in here. All right, so we'll just start mixing this in. So I have a little bit of compost in here, a little bit of seed starting mix in here, and that way it's going to give my plants, the compost, a little bit of nutrients. But I have a lot of this perlite in here. Soil in there. So you want a little bit of air in there, but not too much, so I'll just pump it down like that. Then I'm going to stick this far down in here. So we'll start off with the one that had really good roots here. So for my longer ones, just like this, can you guys see this? I'm going to just put it down inside of the hole. And top it off just like that. Now we'll put a little bit more soil on the top of here. And when I water these, I'm going to water them in from the bottom. So again, more perlite. Just going to come in with more perlite. Smash it down, and then we'll do another one. Okay, so now we have our next one that has some roots. And you guys could see in the previous footage how the roots looked. All right, so now we have another one here. I'll do a smaller one. And so with this one right here, now I could insert this with the other hydrangea cuttings, but I don't want to do that. It had its opportunity. It showed me what it was going to do. So I went ahead and I cut it back. This one, I'll have to train a little bit more, but I'll go ahead and I'll insert that all the way down, just like I did the other hydrangeas. Okay, so that's this one. Perlite. So as you get to the bottom, you'll see that you have to just keep mixing it in, and that's fine. So now I'm going to come in same way I did the other one, and you'll notice that with the perlite your containers are going to be extremely light. Alright, now for our one that we dunked inside of the water, we went in and we rehydrated these leaves, similar to if you have an arrangement that you're doing and you look at your arrangement and you say, OMG, my hydrangeas are starting to droop. We just rehydrated the leaves just like that. Hopefully I have enough soil made up in order to go ahead and dump this on the inside. I don't have to make up another batch. I don't think I will. So I'm going to add a bit more vermiculite here. Now I'm actually going to put this back in there because I want it to be even all the way through. So this should be enough here for our cutting. So I think we eyeballed that just right. We're going to sit this bottom side back inside of our distilled water here. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. All right, now here we go. Now, in order to make sure we keep a lot of humidity on these, now you can take this whole entire thing and you can stick it into a big tub. That's perfectly fine. Put some holes at the bottom of it. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way, and we're gonna come in and we are going to provide a tent with a baggie. And I can never cut these with those type of scissors. So we'll just come in and we'll make our cut. Okay, so the only thing we are doing is we're going to cover up our soil here. Because this is the environment that the hydrangeas will want to have. They're going to want to stay humid for root development. And this is a little bit big. So you just kind of keep it in there just like that. When you water, you want to water with distilled water. And you guys, in about 4 to 6 weeks, when you go to check if your hydrangeas have rooted, you pull up on the stem. If it doesn't come out, don't force it, just tug it a little bit. Since you have a lot of perlite mixed in with your soil here, you have more perlite than you have soil. What you can do is you can put this, dip it down inside of some water, your particles will separate, and then you'll be able to see your roots. Or you can just pot it up, especially if you're starting to see that nothing is wilted, your leaves look great, and then you just go ahead and just keep watering with that distilled water. I want you guys to drop down in the comment section and put Hydrangea Propagation or hydrangea cuttings. I'm going to continue to make my humidity domes and get these into place. We're going to set these right beside where we set our other hydrangea cuttings. And if you don't have a place like that, like if you live in an apartment, no problem. All you have to do is use your window sill, use the shaded part of your balcony, and you'll have results just the same. Now that I'm looking at this one, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to cut these off and just ride out with 4 sets of leaves here. There we go. This one, an exception to the rule, because remember, we cut these half and half. We didn't cut these, and actually, I'm going to go ahead and cut these. And the reason why I'm going to cut these is because I'm using soil. But we want to make sure we leave enough leaves on there for photosynthesis. And it'll make it easier to get the baggie over.